Here.
Here.
Absent.
Excellent. I'd also ask that the record show that Mayor Elliott is joining us as well. We have a single topic for tonight's discussion, and it is how we choose to move forward to replace the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, obviously a very important position in the district. We did ask Dr. Kalfawi to join us tonight so that he'd be able to offer us his insights. You'll be joining us July 1st. Sorry to bring you in early. But if you could, I don't know if you have any opinions off the bat about the position.
Madam Chair, I do have an opinion on that. I've done it before twice. I think it's too important of a position to be rushing into it. And one of the things that I've done in the past 2 times as when I was a superintendent, and 2 times I was a chair of the search committee for the Assistant Superintendent of Finance. And my preference would be that we go at it slowly, that we would seek the help of a consultant, which I've worked with one who has also worked with Methuen, worked with Chelmsford currently, and there are others anyway, but this is a good person that I think has a very good reputation. He's retired, and I prefer to work with somebody like that for a couple months and start the search and give it really the time that it deserves, because it's a really important one. It gives us a chance as well to review a couple of things that not only in the search itself, but job descriptions and everything else.
Well, thank you very much for that. I have to say I'm of the same opinion, and I think particularly as we're kind of moving into this period, it absolutely makes sense for us to get someone in there who can manage the nuts and bolts right now, but can give you time, your team time, to kind of decide exactly what direction we want to go in, what we need most, and to do a thoughtful search, because we certainly, as you say, don't want to rush into it. I don't know, Mr. Conway, if you have any opinion on that.
No, actually, I think it's a great idea to do that too, because again, it is an extremely vital job, and it's a type of job that affects every facet of the school system, and I think that you certainly should have that opportunity to evaluate what's going on, evaluate the central administration, get to know the system, and in the meanwhile, have somebody in there that you have worked with before, which I think is a real plus, that if you bring him on board on a temporary basis, so that going forward, it will give you that breathing room so that you can get the most effective individual to help run the business side of the school system. I think at this point, would we need a motion, Madam Chair, to allow that to a consultant to come in?
What I think we need to do, and Jane, you may have a sense of this, Michael, you might also. I think what we need to do is to, for the subcommittee, and then we'd bring it forward at the full committee a little later this evening, to move forward instructing the administration to create a job posting for a temporary consultant position that would be for a search that would be conducted by the administration for that temporary position, so that it would be managed by the new superintendent coming in July 1st. Because it's a consultant position, and here's where I'd need correction if I'm off base, I know that the committee has approval rights for the final position, but that I don't think we necessarily need approval on a consultant position. Is that a distinction that, thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. I believe that as far as posting in that particular area, when it's a consultant type of role, there's not a huge history unless it's an RFP that we go out for a substantial amount of money. So experientially, it is something, and there could be For when we do outside providers, we bring them to you for the money piece of it after the fact, but we usually haven't posted. Usually they do specific, then we have to go to permission to enter after the fact, so.
Well, excuse me, would we need the money piece first on it to find out how much money, Madam Superintendent?
Well,
A lot, like, for example, tonight at the school committee meeting, I would assume that we would probably want to put a certain amount of monies aside for that, for that, let's say 3 months. Would we,
yeah,
would
honestly.
there be a motion on that tonight?
I'm thinking that you already have the salary of the current assistant superintendent, so there's, what you'll be doing eventually is moving the funds or doing something different with it, because remember that you do have the funds from the role of the assistant superintendent that can be in fact used for this function. So I don't know if, Jay, if you have any other ideas, or?
As a recommendation, would we be comfortable if we just instructed the new superintendent to create a proposal for us that the school committee could approve? So that would include the range, because I don't know, I mean, like, in the time frame, 3 months seems really short to me, but you may feel differently. But kind of your perfect world scenario that you'd like us to approve, and then we can move forward. I'm trying to streamline it and make it happen as quickly as we can without us making it worse.
Yeah, I think I just threw 3 months out as just as a number, but also keeping in mind that we need to, our next meeting, school committee meeting, isn't it a month down the road? So, I mean, I think that might create a little bit of a problem, because I think you'd want to get that individual on board earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a mechanism to bring him on board.
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
So can I just get this straight? Under the current statute, you hire your assistant superintendent of finance and operations, or whatever the job category is. The school committee ratifies or approves that recommendation. You're coming on July 1st. Your intent is to hire either a consultant or a contractor, neither of which requires a formal bidding process under 30B, because it's not a 30B issue. It is, Madam Solicitor, what is the, it's a service, it's covered under a service contract, which I would hope that you'll go out and do a solicitation, or you're going to ask certain individuals and certainly get a cost structure. But for all intents and purposes, Mr. Lang, when are you leaving? You don't leave till?
Yeah, no, I've given my notice that the end of August is when I'm.
So the end of August. So you're going to be here for a minimum of 60 days from the beginning of your, from you start July 1st. So we're talking 60 days that you will still be there. You'll still be performing the functions. And in the meantime, you will go out and look for an individual to come in while Mr. Lang is there, and at the same time concurrently put a solicitation, posting, whatever we call it, out to fill a vacancy position to hire somebody, right? So I'm not sure, do we need to be taking any actions? I mean, it seems like we're 2 weeks away, and I'm happy to support any recommendation, but you're going to be starting in 2 weeks, and from that time forward, we're still going to have the current assistant superintendent, and in the meantime, you will begin, as soon as you start, the process of bringing in a financial person to evaluate or to conduct the roles. I'm confused how many people we're going to have in the kitchen. Are we going to have too many chefs in the kitchen? And what are we doing here?
If I may, I think what I would recommend is that what I have done in the past is that I know that Mr. Lang has the last 2 weeks. Am I correct? The last 2 weeks? The last 2 weeks of July is on vacation.
Okay.
And I know that we can bring in this person as just an acting role. He's retired, so he's not a permanent, doesn't want to be a permanent. As soon as I can, so he can have an overlap with Mr. Lang of 1 week. I have no problem, and I actually would recommend that. I think for us, and also for Mr. Lang, that if we can bring in this person earlier with an overlap, I certainly would recommend to the school committee to waive the 2 months requirement of the notice and allow Mr. Lang to go back, to go to his next position of superintendent of Chelmsford earlier, because I have full confidence in that the person that would come in as an acting role can do that. This person has really high credentials, and then this way it allows us to get right into what we want to do, immediately start the search process, and if we need to change or revise job descriptions or postings, we have time to do that immediately. That person in all the 3 positions that he helped us in Winchendon, helped as well in Methuen, and helps in Chelmsford, and in all 3 he did pretty much the same thing, coming in, do the acting, and help and assist in the search as well.
Sure.
Secure the search, hiring a person, and then leave immediately. And I think this way would be most beneficial to us because we get in immediately into it. And I think it would be also good for Mr. Lang to join his next job,
So maybe
earlier
I
than
understand
sooner.
the intent of the Ms. Martin, the chairwoman, to at least initiate the process before you get here, to start posting for the permanent job? Because I
No,
don't think, you don't need to post there's
I
no
don't-
reason to
Well, that was
post
why I
someone
had
for a
asked the
temporary.
question. Clearly, you already knew. I didn't.
Yeah,
I had to
right.
ask the
Oh,
question
okay.
to know if it was what the requirements were.
I don't think we need
I think if
the
we're
posting,
moving forward,
no.
I think that's fine. And if there's a candidate that's already in the mix, that's great. And I guess that will, I have real troubles about not doing an RFP. I mean, I
It's-
just think that that's how we do things. We do things openly. We ask for things. We ask for people to apply. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's Madam Solicitor, thank you.
I was just going to note that if that's the intent to bring somebody aboard, then they would really be coming aboard as a temporary employee. And so we wouldn't have to go through the RFP process, as you were saying. And,
I mean, Madam Chair, I don't object to it if there is a process. I don't know how long that process is, but typically, I mean, it is, you can, whatever it is, I agree we should give everyone an opportunity to do it, but I'm not sure if that's standard or how long that will take. The solicitation process would take 30 days, wouldn't it? Typically?
If I may, when we went through this before, we did ask our legal team about, and it's definitely a temporary employee, which you do not do any RFP for temporary employees. You do them only with the permission of the school committee to allow you to hire a temporary and be using the funds of the permanent position. That is, as the superintendent was saying earlier, and that's how we did it. Very simple.
I think my only concern is that there are, as I understand it, about 5 or 6 people who do this in the state of Massachusetts. That there's a cadre of people who have this expertise and they're kind of known. I don't personally know them, but they're known to those in the industry. And it just, it's troubling to me that we wouldn't at least try to cast a net and see who would be, the best fit. If I would trust the assurances that you've worked with the enough of them that you would feel confident moving forward. If that was the proposal you brought forward, I would support it.
I'm really not going to, the only thing that I would add again is just that in addition to the temporary employee not requiring an RFP, depending on what the cost would be, if there was a recruiter involved, that's something that you could do as well. But typically those costs are relatively low, and it wouldn't trigger a formal solicitation. So I mean, it sounds like the approach that's being followed or anticipated to be followed would be perfectly fine.
Mr. Conway?
Through you to the city solicitor, if I understand this correctly, then the superintendent has a right under these situations to bring in a temporary employee and does not need a sanction from the school committee. Is that correct?
Well, under the statute, the filling of the position requires ratification. The statute doesn't speak to the temporary nature of the position, so, you know, arguably, it could be something that the school committee, rather, could ratify. But I think from what the superintendent was saying is that he did intend to sort of bring forth this plan and also to request permission to utilize the funds in the salary account to fill this in a temporary way, if I understood him correctly. So that, either way, that would satisfy everything.
Okay,
So would
thank
you
you.
like to make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Conway?
Yes, I would.
I would second that. All those in favor?
Yes.
There you go. That was a, that was a tough vote. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, by Mr. Conway, seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye. Thank you.